Everyone, and welcome back to the Movemates video. I am Matthew, joined once again by a wonderful co-host and best friend,
Callum.
Hey man, lovely to see you. So on today's video, we're
First
also
time Kash
joined.
hasn't laughed at me.
I know, literally, it's the first time, and as Callum said,
I was holding it in.
as Callum said, we're joined by a very, very special guest today, and that is Kash, who was you might remember from our Kissing Booth podcast as well. How you doing, buddy? Great to have you back on.
I'm really good. Thank you for having me back on the podcast.
Oh no, you're more than welcome,
Kash,
buddy.
I asked Matthew the other day because I was wondering, about you coming on, how often you want to be on for these Riverdale episodes. And I asked him about the episode where we talked about the finale, and I was confident that you were in that episode, but Matthew tells me you weren't.
You know what? I actually felt like I was in that episode too. Like whenever I was watching this earlier, I was like, I remember having a discussion with you, but like, did we even meet up? I don't know how we did.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a discussion off screen, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, that must be it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought you were in the episode. I was 100% sure.
I was there in heart
spirit.
and soul.
Yeah.
In spirit.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time, Kash, that you're on for a Riverdale review. Now, a lot of what Callum and I have in common with you is, of course, our mutual love. Love. We'll use that term loosely for the Riverdale TV show, and of course, we all love a good teen romance here and there. Of course, you've been on for the Kissing Booth movies, so it's gonna be a really good discussion point as well. And of course, it's the premiere of season 5, isn't it? Which I'm not sure, is it the last season, guys? I know it's a big moment.
No,
season 5's not the last season.
No, of course not. Why would they cancel this? It's genius.
that's true. Yeah,
I thought like physically they're going to university next year.
Yeah.
Like
No, they're doing a 5-year time jump.
Oh my god, no.
No.
There's I mean, you'll hate to hear this, that there's more Riverdale related content, but they recently made a TV show called Katie Keene, a character that's referenced in this episode, and her boyfriend K.O. Kelly, who's a supporting character in that series. It was cancelled after one season, and it was not good. It was meant to be like a Gen Z Sex in the City kind of thing, and I got like 4 episodes in. It was dreadful.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it's on BBC iPlayer. It's like not as bad as Riverdale quality wise, but it's not like so bad it's good, so it's just bad. So it was pretty much unwatchable for me.
Yeah. Riverdale's got that special
I feel like
quality
that,
to it.
Yeah, and that was set 5 years in the future, so I think they're pushing Riverdale 5 years in the future so that they can maybe cross those over.
Cool. That's interesting. That's
Imagine
really
working your corporate job, after uni, and then also like going back home to visit your parents and being like, the goblins and gargoyles.
Yeah, yeah, literally. It's gonna be so weird.
Oh,
I know, it's gonna be so strange to see them in that environment, isn't it? But yeah. Just before we kick off today's episode, thanks very much to everyone who supported us recently. We really do appreciate that. And of course, massive credit to Kash for coming on. I really do appreciate that, Callum and I, massively. So yeah, season 5, episode 1 now. Full spoilers for this one, guys, if you're listening. So yeah, turn away now, or turn off now if you haven't seen it. But be sure to come back. Yeah. Does anyone want to open up with any opening remarks regarding this episode?
Well, if I could just comment on the show as a whole, I think we both I think all 3 of us recognize that this show is trash. It's that's the only reason that we're committing to talking about this. As a full series, we will be discussing every episode of this season because we're committed. And the only reason is because it is so bad. That it's fun to talk about. But I would say this is like, do you guys find yourself often watching shows that you actively don't think are good just because you're having a good time?
To be honest, for me, no. I think this is the only show I like hate watch. It's unique, Callum. It's one of a kind. It's just so good that it's one of a kind. But no, I don't like hate watch shows a lot. I'm not that person.
I remember I did it a lot with The Flash back in the day. When I used to watch that, like it wasn't good quality wise, but it was. It's kind of a thing we were talking about yesterday, Callum, like quality and entertainment. Like Riverdale is definitely enjoyable and entertaining to some degree, in my opinion. But it's quality wise, it's definitely not there. But it's weird. I think this episode actually is decent quality wise.
Yeah.
I mean, Sorry, go ahead, Callum.
Yeah, you know, I do still watch The Flash, and I watch all the CW shows, Riverdale included, and some of them are genuinely good. I think Flash isn't the best, but it is fun. Supergirl is not a good show, neither is Batwoman, but I just watch them both to keep up to date. But I don't hate watch them because I don't think they're that bad. I just don't enjoy them. But Riverdale just has a special place in my heart. But I do agree. This episode that we're talking about today is probably a notch above the regular quality of Riverdale, I'd say.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a way to make your first episode bad, you should just shut down the cameras at that point and pack it in.
That's such a good point. It's such a good point. Like the first episode has to be good quality wise, otherwise what's the point? It really does. So that's a really good point.
Like I understand that like halfway through the season they're literally writing script while taking a shit in the toilet. You know, it's all like 5 minutes before. I understand why it's bad quality, but first episode, come on, you've had a year to make the script.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's weird because
can I just say one thing? I loved the way the first episode is called The Climax.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, I know. Like it's the show. To be fair, I actually think this episode, the pacing wise, it's actually pretty good, and it doesn't waste time with like dragging out plot lines for the most part. You know what? Here, you know, Archie's honest with Veronica in the first episode. You know, he clears the air immediately, which you know it did take him a while. God, Archie is like he went from my favorite to my least favorite so quickly last season.
I mean, Matthew, you know, you say cleared the air immediately. He cleared the air after he had a chance to have shower sex with her and try, get her help trying to get into the Naval Academy. So
that's true. Sorry, what was I thinking? Yeah, you're right. Like,
yeah.
God, I forgot he wrote a song for Betty as well. What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? God.
To be honest, this might be a controversial opinion, but I kind of wished he dragged it out a bit. You know, we could.
Oh.
Yeah. Because like, I feel like now that they've done this, what are they gonna do? This is just going to be like really awkward every scene.
I do think that I think the 5-year time jump is coming soon because you know this episode is essentially, you know, it's not really season 5 episode 1, it's like season 4 episode 20. So I think they really wanted to cap off that season and then start season 5 with the 5-year time jump. So I think that's coming soon, and by that time, like the character description for like Veronica 5 years on, she has. Spoilers, I guess, very minor, but like she has a new husband, and Archie is her friend now. So I think they must patch things up.
Yeah, it kind of gets me thinking. You know, we've mentioned that whole scenario where you know Betty and Archie had that kiss or whatever, and you know the show has spent a lot of time with the Archie and Veronica relationship, and it kind of got me thinking. You know, with that context of the 5-year time jump in mind, do you think, you know, the Riverdale as the show will end, or season 5 will end with Archie and Veronica being together and Betty and Jughead being together? Because it's kind of a weird one that they've sort of split a main couple up here. What do you gents reckon? What do you think?
I actually think I don't really think that Archie and Betty go together well, but maybe that's just because you don't see them together a lot in the show. But they just don't. They don't seem endgame enough for me, to be honest.
I love it. It's a good point.
Yeah, that's it.
What about you, mate?
Well, you know, of course, like, you know, the big staple of the comics is, you know, which girl will he choose? Because he's just such a top shagger. You know, will he choose Betty? Will he choose Veronica? And you know, I really think that he should have stayed with Veronica. I feel like they paired those two together too early for them to be endgame, as the kids say. You know, and as Kash unfortunately said in this podcast, you know, I feel like, you know, they established that relationship too early to keep it going forever. But also, I think Betty is too fundamentally, you know, an unlikable character to put her together with Archie permanently. So I really feel like they've shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
I don't know if you boys know, but like obviously there's like actual Archie and like Jughead comic books. And like in the comic books, at least, I'm pretty sure the whole time it's like a love triangle between Archie, Veronica, and Betty, and then Jughead's just kind of the weirdo on the outside. But like exactly. Even when I watched season 1, because I actually read the comic books before the show.
Oh really?
I was really confused.
Nice.
Yeah, I know.
That's cool.
The comic books are actually decent because like my mum and all had read them. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
To be fair, I've heard a lot about them. You know, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Nice one.
Yeah.
Did you read like the sort of like goofy ones or like the edgy ones?
Oh, like the goofy ones, because it was all like old ones that my mum and my uncle had kept from when they were kids and teenagers in India. So basically,
wow.
whenever I used to go
That's
back
so
to
interesting.
India over holidays, we'd have no books to read except like random
Riverdale?
comic books that they had whenever they were kids. Yeah, and they're just
That's
like
so
really goofy and
interesting.
stupid. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Nice one.
So, you know, on this podcast, we talk a lot about morally reprehensible characters. Yesterday, when me and Matthew recorded, it was Winnie the Pooh, and today, I think it's fair enough that we talk about Betty Cooper, a trash person, a terrible person that I just can't get behind, no matter how hard I try, no matter how much the show wants me to like her. You know, Betty and Archie, their cheating scandal really shows that they are two terrible people who absolutely do not deserve their partners. But in my opinion, I think Betty is worse because she pretends with Jughead that everything is still perfect, whereas Matthew said Archie at least eventually goes for the confession, but Betty just stays true, and
illusion.
you know,
yeah,
she maintains the illusion that everything's all right, and I just think it's you know, Jughead, annoying weirdo aside, you know, he deserves better.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question you just raised there, but like when I, you know, like you said earlier, Callum, you know, this is pretty much a continuation of season 4. You know, this is season 4, episode 20, as you put it really well. And it kind of feels like for me, season 4 was predominantly a Betty and Jughead season. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, the whole like, you know, mystery up to the mid-season was all about Jughead's murder, so it was pretty much his season, and all that Archie did was, you know, run a business.
Yeah, and literally, and you know, on the subject of Betty, she's definitely, I think, my least favorite out of the 4. To be honest, I think she's the weakest character-wise, and you know, I think the show really tries to present her as like a really edgy teen who, you know, is you know, the serial killer genes or whatever they tried to do. But it's just, you know, I know this is a TV show, but how are teenagers allowed to be involved in an official murder investigation with the FBI? How does that happen?
Yeah, they're all business owners and, you know, amateur detectives. Like, but none of them are smart. So I really don't know how they've managed that. I mean, Veronica has, you know, it's clearly like business intelligence, and but Betty just has like a really inflated sense of ego where she thinks she's a genius. You know, and
I know.
How does a 17, 18-year-old own a rum business in America where the legal drinking age is 21?
It's a really good.
I feel like, you know, of course her dad's a crime boss. She has connections. I think she's running that through some, you know, offshore accounts.
Speaking of Hiram,
she's doing something dodgy here.
Speaking of Hiram, of course he's beating the disease, the absolute bastard. Well, how does that even happen? It must be like a scientific miracle.
What's happening here? Hiram has actually beaten cancer 8 times. His genes are just that's superb.
That guy is a scientific medical miracle. Like, do you think he's been faking it the whole time?
Well, like that is what I thought originally. But you know, if you were faking it and then just, you know, we're committed to, you know, 3 weeks later, you know, saying that you've completely beaten it, like, what's your end goal there? You know, I feel like he hasn't accomplished anything, you know, from that diagnosis. So I feel like it has to be real. But I feel like there are a few plot lines here from like sort of carried over from season 4 that the writers just want to get away from. Like, you know, they recognize that they were a bit of a mistake, so they try to just completely drop them.
It's a really good point. I think so. I think that's a really good observation, because it kind of puts a bow in that kind of arc completely. You know, otherwise what was the point in including it in there, as you just said? So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that rolls out. And obviously by the end we see that Hiram has overheard that Archie has been cheating on Veronica, so he's probably gonna try and kill him.
The shit out of Archie.
I think he will.
Yeah,
I think he will.
There's a promo of him like rocking up to El Royale gym, and I just hope he clocks him. Like, I hope Archie is like bleeding on the floor.
I actually hate that like character arc thing that like Hiram beats up little kids. I still cannot get it. Like, why did they go for 3 seasons about some guy's girlfriend's dad trying to literally murder him and think that this is a viable plot line? And then they fix it for like half a season, and I was like finally content with life. And now they're just gonna bring it back and he's not gonna give Archie the job, of course, and then like Archie's gonna work in McDonald's or some shit. Like I don't know.
But I mean,
Whoa,
I
Kash,
yeah, for losers, Matthew.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
You know,
yeah.
I feel like, you know, him, you know, having sort of the side arc of, you know, him beating people up, I think is still, it makes a bit more sense than people just ignoring the fact that he was ever a crime boss. Like, you know, Archie just like rolls over to his house. Like Archie, you know, has nearly been killed by Hiram multiple times, and he put him in jail, and he's just sat there on the sofa like, yeah, just here to pick up your daughter. You know,
Dude,
no worries.
Yeah, like I
You were
sometimes
looking
forget some
sharp,
of the,
bro.
yeah, like I sometimes forget the awful stuff that Hiram has done because I kind of really like the actor. So like he's kind of really charming. So I kind of forget all the awful things he's probably done to Archie and his daughter and stuff like that. But I mean, there's going to be a comeuppance for him, surely. I mean, surely they're not going to, you know, make him a nice guy after all. You know, there's bound to be some sort of evil plan he's working at, you'd think.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in this town just seems to forgive so easily. You know, he's committed countless crimes and people are just cool with it. And you know, they're all aware that, you know, someone is the daughter of a serial killer or a drug dealer, and you know, there's no like judgment or worry about those people. It's just, you know, assumed in that town that you have some links to crime. Like it just does not seem like a town that could function. Like I really don't want to. Is Pop Tate still alive, or did he get murdered or something?
I hope he's still
I think
alive.
he's
He's
still
my
good.
favorite.
I think he's still good.
I think he's still kicking, but I think we have to find out that he's like a drugs mule or something.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like Riverdale just can't help it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, my favorite Hiram moment from this one was you know, the whole like bit where he's like, I started a new workout regimen, and he just starts killing people. Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yes,
And then you like.
Yeah,
like 3 imagine that's like your workout plan, like, yeah, I do like 3 reps of killing people about 4 times a week. It's kind of beating this whole cancer thing.
I strengthen my forearms by snapping people's necks.
Yeah, 4 sets of 10 of those columns, and
yeah, 4 sets of 10 to be jacked.
You'll be jacked.
It's I think it's the fact that, you know, they're just having a nice little afternoon tea, and then Hiram's like, yeah, I've got a new workout session. Then it cuts to him like just brutally shooting people in the head. Like it's so.
Oh yeah,
it
is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good.
I like really hope. Sometimes I pray in my sleep that Riverdale is like as self-aware as we are. You know what I mean? Like they're like trying to make the worst show.
Yes. Well, like 100%. Like I think they know exactly what they are, and they're doing it because of fans like us. Like, you know, because obviously you only make content to make money, except for us. You know, we do this for free. You're welcome. You know, but you know, anyone making a TV show or a film, they just make what they know is going to be popular. So, you know, they peddle like this shit and people eat it up. So they're going to keep doing that. Like, you know, don't mess with a formula that's successful. Like if people, you know, rallied and said, unless you make the show better, we're not going to watch it, then they would make it better. But, you know, no one's calling for improvements because this is what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the fact that it's weird because when the show inevitably ends, which it will do soon, I'd imagine, or maybe not soon, but you know, sometime in the future, I will actually be really gutted. I have a real love for this show. Like it's weird. Like I really love watching it. I love almost all of the characters, but it's just it's not even like a guilty. It's not even really like a guilty pleasure for me. It's just the fact that I actually just generally do like it, even though it's just not quality wise good, but it's just really entertaining. You know, I'll be gutted when it leaves. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take, I don't know, but yeah.
To be honest, I agree with you. The amount of time I've spent slabbering the show, I could probably have like been to the moon and back at this point. It's gonna leave a hole in my life, that's for sure.
Because I mean, it's at least like 14 hours to watch each season, so we've each watched at least 56 hours of Riverdale, like at the very minimum. So like we really can't complain. Yeah. Like we are, you know, what is fueling them to keep making it. But you know, we've talked a lot about Veronica and her daddy, and you know, there's a lot of connotations to that relationship. But the character of Veronica, in my opinion, I think she's amazing, and I really can't understand why Archie would want to date Betty over her, because I feel like Veronica is like so desperate to help Archie in everything he does. You know, she helps him run his business. You know, go like, you know, try and get to the Naval Academy. You know, clearly her love language is acts of service, and she just seems like such a good girlfriend. And the fact he would throw that away for Betty just makes me sad. Like, because she, like most other characters in the show, is unpleasant, obsessive, and incapable of having fun. But hers is dialed up right to 11.
completely. I completely agree. Veronica's probably my favorite out of the four for me.
Yeah, at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, she's not my favorite character.
That's true. There's not many options. So I think what they're trying to lead on with the Archie Betty thing is like, you know, if you look at episode 1, it's like Betty staring out her window and being like, "Dude, it's Archie." So I think it's like that kind of like, yeah, exactly. So I think it's kind of that like really small plot line they're trying to bring back, as if it never really went away type of thing. That childhood bond that them two characters had.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, buddy. It's a good point, because that's one of the focal points of the first season.
They hardly share any screen time, you know. Yeah, but you know, most of Betty's screen time is shared with either Jughead or with Veronica. Like, she spends almost no time with Archie, and you know that's really sort of the childhood crush. I feel like if you were presented, you know, like I think if you were friends with your childhood crush, like you know, by the time you're 17, 18, I really feel like those feelings go away. Like I don't feel like that would still be at that point, you know, the best person for you in the world, because even, you know, upon reflection, like you know, Archie seems convinced that Betty is the one for him. You know, he's the one that's been a bit more full on about the fact that they should have a relationship, and her saying that, you know, what happened is over.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point. Like, I think we even see, you know, in this episode where, you know, Veronica's saying, you know, I'm gonna defer university for a year and things like that. It's Archie's the one who's saying, oh no, like you should go, kind of thing. He's kind of not breaking off that relationship, but he's putting that distance between them, so to speak. So it's a really it's a really good. It's almost as if Archie wants the relationship with Betty, and, you know, not the other way around. So I don't know. I do think they're probably gonna have to. I do think they're going to have to rectify that. Sorry, Kash has just put in a funny comment. Any
context to that, Kash?
That's what they said, sure, in the show. Whenever Cheryl's girlfriend, they want to have dinner, they're like, "You're just going to a big gay party?"
Yeah, I think
something I don't remember.
It is something like that. I think the Cheryl character, if we want to talk about her, she's actually one that's actually grown in me a lot recently. To be honest, I actually think her and what's her girl? I know she calls her TT affectionately. Tony. That's it. Like, I actually think their relationship's really sweet. It's one of the stronger ones in the show, in my opinion.
I mean, I am glad, you know, the crux of her sort of storyline in this episode is about the prom and the fact that she wants to be prom queen. And I am glad that the prom wasn't the focus of the episode, because I feel like it would have been a bit too sickening to watch these adults pretend to be high schoolers for that long. But, you know, I really don't understand, you know, as I said, her main plotline is that she wants to be co-queens with Tony. And I really don't understand the appeal of being prom queen if you don't allow people to vote and you win by default. You know, I don't understand the appeal, because that doesn't prove that people like you.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Like, I think I think you're definitely right. Like, it stands to reason for me anyway that I'm sort of glad that prom wasn't the center stage of the show. And it's going to be interesting, because I think in the next couple episodes they're going to move on to their graduation. So I'm not sure if like that's going to be a focal point of that episode. I assume it will be, because that's like, I suppose it's going to be the last one we'll see them in high school together. But it's weird that the show, in my opinion, has spent so long with them in high school. You know, we've seen movies, you know, who have you know, actors who are clearly not the age that they're supposed to be playing the characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's use the Raimi Spider-Man films, for example. I mean, they rushed Peter Parker and MJ out of high school as quickly as possible after the first movie, whereas here, you know, they've kept them in high school for 5 seasons. So I think maybe a time jump is the right move, for sure.
Yeah,
I actually have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
Because I'm not as educated as you. How many years is a season? Because if we're using the approximation that this season is a year and there's been 4 seasons, have they been doing this shit since they're 13? Because
I'm very confused by that, because I don't think that the seasons do last a full school year. But also, I feel like I did read something about Archie being 13 in the first season, but I think he's more likely 15, and it's been 3 years. But also, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like enough events have occurred. You know, we've seen like a couple of proms, you know, like one in the first season, one in this season, and you know, a couple of, you know, big events. But it really doesn't feel like several significant years of your high school experience covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. think you're right.
I think maybe they might be doing like 2 seasons per year type of thing, and like maybe they started when they're 16 years old, because
That's a good shot.
if they were like detective working when they were like 13, 14, and like sleeping together and all.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. If I just say like, but definitely below the legal age at that point for the show.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, and
but-
like I think we have mentioned that like it is kind of an embarrassment that you know, the town just let Miss Grundy run away like after her you know, after the entire nonce storyline.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
Like she thankfully got murdered by the Black Hood. You know, because you don't want her out on the streets, you know, potentially endangering children. But you know, it feels like, you know, she should have, you know, faced consequences in Riverdale. And that's sort of my concern with this show, that, you know, everyone is too forgiving and no one seems to face consequences. And, you know, that's sort of what pissed me off with the idea that even Veronica agrees to not, you know, not tell Jughead, because she says, you know, it's not worth it to, like, you know, blow up 2 relationships.
Yeah.
But Betty absolutely deserves it. She deserves to feel the consequences of her actions.
It's a good.
Yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I feel really bad for Jughead. To be honest, I really do feel bad for him. Absolutely gutted.
Yeah,
And
another thing I feel bad for Jughead is, you know, during that prom scene, Jughead's like, "Oh, Betty, you're so beautiful," and she says, "The feeling is mutual."
I thought that was
Like,
quite
come
sweet.
on.
Gosh, I thought that was quite sweet. Did you not
That's
think
what you
so?
say when you're like making like a business agreement or something. Like,
yeah, no, and also knowing Betty, I feel like she was just agreeing that she looks good.
yeah, she's like, I do look good.
yeah, same.
And like I think it is clear that it is just for the best that the Bughead break up at this point, so that they stop having to have the conversation with people that they share a brother. I feel like, you know, you mentioned
Yes.
earlier, Kash, that, you know, you were sort of taken aback by the fact that their parents are together. I feel like that just must not be a pleasant conversation when you introduce yourself as a couple.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point.
Oh, no.
One of the characters in the show that
Yeah.
it's definitely one of my favorites is the character of Reggie. Now I really hope
Oh
that he has-
God, in this episode, Jesus.
Now, what happens to him in this
Whoa.
episode again?
Well, Matthew, you know, I would say that, you know, in previous seasons, at the very worst, you know, we know that Reggie is a victim of domestic abuse. You know, his dad hits him. You know, so he's a sympathetic character, but he's shown to be at his worst a bit of a bully. In this episode, he puts fizzle rocks, which are actually, you know, which is actually crystallized jingle jangle into the punch. So he has drugged everyone in the high school.
Was that what that was? I did not think that was what he
Yeah.
was putting into that punch. That is mad.
Like he is, like, I'm pretty sure, you know, at the end, like while the video's
Oh,
playing and then
brilliant.
everyone starts like manically dancing, I think it's because he's drugged them.
Classic Reggie.
I was wondering about that. I was like, why is anyone freaking out about this murder clip
So
going
was
on
I.
the
I
TV?
was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. Or like,
Uh,
have you ever watched American Vandal? Have any of you seen that show?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the second season of American Vandal, the whole thing is that someone puts laxatives or something in like their school meals, so everyone ends up just shitting their pants. So I thought there was going to be
I
like
will
a
test that.
American Vandal Riverdale like crossover in the prom, and everyone
Reggie
just,
up
like,
to his
shits
old
it.
tricks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, Reggie is definitely one of my faves in the show. I'd love to see him get a girlfriend or something, or have a happy ending, because he's generally one of my favorites. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, momentarily, like, you know, they've moved. They originally cast Ross Butler, and he was in season 1, but you know, whenever he got a role in 13 Reasons Why, he moved over to that show, and he was replaced by Charles Melton. But whenever he was in that sort of like gimp murder suit, you know, halfway through the episode, I was nearly 100% sure that was not him. Like they, you know, they referred to him as
Yeah.
Reggie, but I was so sure that the mouth looked off. So I thought they had recast him again.
Yeah,
But
imagine.
thankfully, Charles Melton is here, who is a real life ex-boyfriend of Veronica Camille Mendez.
Yeah. I remember
Wow.
hearing something about that. I know, that's weird. That must have made filming scenes quite awkward then, I'd imagine. as
Yeah,
well.
you know, they were originally, you know, they had this sort of, you know, they were essentially like co-running the business, because he was sort of the muscle and she was the brains.
Mhm.
And I feel like they really just binned that storyline off, you know, to sort of avoid any
Yeah.
tension.
Yeah, I think so.
Imagine the breakup happened before that, and the writers were just like, "Fuck Veronica, we're putting them together every scene."
I know,
Yeah,
just
boy.
to mess with them. I know. I've just got actually a
Do
notification.
you think that's why? Do you think that's why they're trying to like? Do you think that's why they're trying to break up the two romances so that Lily Reinhardt and Cole Sprouse don't have to be in every scene together?
Have they broken up? Yeah.
Oh yeah, ages ago.
Ages ago. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Well, what was the notification you got, Matthew?
It's just there's 5 minutes left in the meeting time, so I was just wondering we might have to do another meeting, or unless we're close to.
I think we'll have to do another one because I've still got stuff to say.
Go for it, buddy. Go for it.
So, I don't know where I am in my notes, but you know, a large part of this episode is the sort of build up to the fight, the exhibition boxing fight between K.O. Kelly and Archie. And quite honestly, I want to hear your guys' opinions. But for me, the fight wasn't exactly tense. But at least its inclusion in the episode like wasn't, you know, as cliche a plotline as normal Riverdale. I feel like as soon as, you know, Archie got like the El Royale gym, there was a lot of boxing fights, but you know, there's at least been a bit of distance of time between then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why, but Riverdale boxing fights have never captivated me, and I'm actually a fan of, like, you guys have obviously reviewed them now, like Creed and the Rocky movies. I'm actually a pretty big fan of those sorts of movies, and the Riverdale fights have just never, like, they never even got my heart beating at all. But they could make like a really dramatic and like focal point of an episode, I think, with a boxing fight. But it just feels like sometimes they really just skim over them. And even halfway in this fight, they had like really tense music, and then they started playing like Mario Kart music, and the punches literally sounded like Donkey Kong like sounds, like
yeah,
you're beating up the barrels or something. You're playing a video game. But you know, they could have. I don't know why they've never done that. Like Archie just gets like knocked out completely, like out cold, and then like you know, in the Creed movies, he'll get knocked out and he'll have to rise again, and stuff like that. They could make it really good. But they literally make it sound like Mario Kart instead.
Yeah. And sort of when you have two characters that like are sort of so evenly matched as him as K.O. Kelly, it doesn't make it particularly interesting that they're sort of just going punch for punch, because then you're sort of like, oh well, you know, did he really win the fight just because of the personal opinion of the judge? Like I feel like you need a bit more of a discerning you know, sort of situation.
Yeah. I think the fact as well that it was so weirdly edited, you know, mixed with I think there was it was either the scene of Veronica singing or something else was mixed in with it as well. It was really strange. And also, you know, I was definitely rooting for K.O. Kelly, unfortunately for Archie.
What?
And I know because like Archie, I love how salty he is afterwards. He's just like, I'm not your son, and then just walks away. Like it's absolutely gold dust. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he is just an arrogant little prick. Like, you know, he just desperately wants anything that he wants. Like clearly, you know, he got abs and someone told him he was hot, and now that, you know, he thinks he can shag whoever he wants, you know, and you know, take anything that he wants. You know, he thinks he deserves a spot in the Naval Academy just because he can, you know, he's an all right boxer. Like he is the kind of person who thinks like, you know, because he owns a boxing gym, he is a boxer. When in fact, you know, like anyone who like, you know, I bought a ukulele. I don't consider myself a virtuoso.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and it's like sort of Kash, you were saying, buddy. I'd love to see more boxing scenes in the future. Like if it was like as you said, dude, the focal point of the episode. But I think here it was maybe it slightly missed the mark for me. But that being said, like I actually do for the most part enjoy the boxing scenes in Riverdale. I think it's a good bit of action as well, for sure.
So, you know, of the sort of main couples, I think the one who comes out of this episode pretty much judgment free is Jughead, except for the fact that he wears his hat to the prom. That just bothered me.
I thought that was quite strange as well.
You know, I feel like he's talked about before why he wears a hat, but you know, I it's not good enough. You know, show some respect to the girlfriend that you don't know has cheated on you. Come on.
Come on, Jughead. Come on. Yeah, I know what you mean. I thought it was quite strange as well. Because there's definitely been moments where he hasn't worn it before. 100%.
Yeah, I think there was one time where he sort of like, you know, where he like came down the stairs and they're like, oh wow, he cleans up nice. You know, for the crime boss that he is. He is technically, I mean, he's a gang leader. Like he is.
Yeah.
Like, how is he able to get into university? So the whole episode, you know, revs up to the fact that they're, of course, all going to the prom, and we have, you know, mentioned a few a few comments, i.e., they're all drugged eventually, by Reggie. The episode is subtle about that, and I'm not wrong, am I? Fizzle Rocks, the whole sort of conspiracy around Fizzle Rocks was that they are jingle jangle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's some sort of drug for sure. I think it is.
Yeah, because then it made everyone have seizures and stuff. I don't know why he exactly think like that. That's like Spike and Punch with like ketamine. I don't know how that it doesn't like create a fun party, does it? Everyone's just having a seizure on the floor.
Classic Reg.
I don't see how to him in his mind that equals good time. But when we get to the prom, Cheryl and Tony are indeed crowned co-prom queens, and I really wish that they hadn't won, because I feel like Cheryl to me is such an unbearable character, and I feel like this just further feeds her ego.
Yeah, I know what you mean completely. I think for me, I've warmed up to her since season 1 and season 2, like the early days. But yeah, she's definitely a little bit unlikable for sure. I'm trying to think who would they have picked. I thought they were going to go down the route of they actually choose Archie and Veronica to win it, to kind of make that situation really awkward when he just told her about him cheating. Where did you think they were going to go with it?
With the prom king queen, or the co-queen situation. I did think that, knowing the show, I was confident that they were gonna give the position to Cheryl and Tony, and I'd seen some of the promotional material. But I was just because I knew it was gonna happen, that doesn't mean I'm not critical of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean completely. Like the
whole.
So,
Kash, who did you think was going to be crowned as the king or queen or co-queens of the prom?
I thought they might have done like a really awkward moment between Archie and Veronica, and crowned them it, and then it'll be really awkward because they'll have to go on stage together. But they didn't, of course.
Matthew was just saying that for the podcast listeners, Kash left for unknown reasons.
They can't be disclosed. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Matthew. But obviously they would not do the interesting thing. They would just do the obvious thing.
Yeah,
of course.
I know. Of course, classic.
Yeah. Did you guys have anything further on the episode, or just your larger opinions on it?
Nothing from me. Anything from you, Kash?
I just loved there's just some quotes. Just, I'm bigger than I look, bro. That one
was a good one. That was a classic, absolute Archie classic. That one, love it.
And then whenever she called the doctor and she was like, "Thank you, Doctor TTFN." I don't know what that means.
Oh, that made me sick. It's Tata for now. That made me like.
Oh.
That, yeah, no, that.
I
that
didn't
made
catch
me
that one
queasy.
either, so I didn't. I was like, what's going on here? I was, not up to speed with that. But yeah, there are some good quotes in there as well. I think if we were gonna pick out the funniest Riverdale moment of the episode, what would you fellas go for?
Ooh. Do you mean like intrinsically Riverdale, where you're like, oh, that
Yes.
makes me feel sick?
Yes, definitely. What would you go for?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think, Matthew. I'll throw it to you first.
For me, it was the Hiram when they're having like afternoon tea, and he goes, "I've got a new workout routine," and it cuts to him like shitting people. That was a classic for me. What about you, Kash? Got anything on your head?
Probably the big gay party one. I don't know why that one.
Yeah,
just kind of hit a sweet spot.
I'm like, did anyone shag in this episode? Because that's pretty much Riverdale, in a nutshell.
I mean, there was a bit where Archie like
I'm sure there was like
Veronica about
like
showering or something, didn't he?
Joining her in the shower, yeah. But I feel like there must have been some sort of like stomach churning moment with Jughead and Betty that I just can't think of because I've erased it from my memory. I think it's the writing, or do you think the actors are somewhat to blame? And I think Cheryl Blossom's lines are usually the most cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like where you're like, wow, this is poorly written. Is the performance any part of that, do you think?
I mean, I think she performs it the way it's supposed to be performed in the end of the day. So it is just the script.
Yeah, I think she is doing exactly her job. And I feel like the one who's probably best equipped to like deal with the terrible lines is probably Veronica, because I feel like she probably has the strongest balance between terrible lines and good performance, whereas others like Cole Sprouse, like as you said, it does look like that dialogue does make him ill, but I feel like that comes across in his performance, which so sort of seems like he could do a bit better maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely.
Any more remarks from you guys?
Well, in regards to this episode, just to sort of summarize, I do think it is genuinely one of the better episodes of Riverdale, with like my only real criticisms being the morality of the characters within it. I think that the like cringeworthiness was massively dialed down, and I thought the performances were admirable. So I really think they've taken this sort of extended break to assess what is necessary for the Riverdale formula, to make it successful, but how to sort of stave off some of the massive criticisms they get.
Yeah, I love what you just said there, buddy. Completely. I agree. Actually, I think, like you said, the break I think actually really helped them sort of like figure out what is right and what they can do to be more successful and be taken more seriously. Like I think this season could potentially be the best one yet, with the time jump in mind as well. So I'm holding out hope. If you were going to rate it out of 10, gents, I'll start with Kash. Kash, what would you give it out of 10?
I'll give it a solid 6.
Solid 6.
Ooh.
Not bad.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Callum?
I think the criteria here is difficult, because if we're comparing it to other episodes of Riverdale, a 9. If we're comparing it to the rest of television, obviously like a 5. But I think a healthy middle of a 7.5.
Yeah.
And I would say it would not be inappropriate today to perhaps rate it on a massive hit or piece of shit scale.
Yes.
The Movemates tried and tested
Formula.
rating scale.
Yeah.
Where would you put it on one of those two extremes, Kash?
I mean, it would have to be massive hit, but it's like not really, but it has to be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, just honestly, because it's not woeful enough.
Yeah, I think for me,
Exactly.
I'd have to agree with the consensus on the 7.5. I thought it was a very strong opening episode for the season, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Massive hit for me as well. It's a little bit of a concern to me though that they're going away from the cringiness, because that's kind of why I watch it as well. So I'm kind of hoping they don't like forget where they came from and still try to be a little bit self-aware, so to speak. But yeah,
we don't stay for the storytelling. Like we come for the dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks very much, Kash, honestly, for coming on today. Callum and I really do appreciate that, buddy. Absolute pleasure having you on always, mate. It's always some of the best times I find recording. Wouldn't you say so, mate?
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The kissing booth episodes were some of our favorites, and I think they were the most accessible, because you're a funny lad, my friend.
Absolutely.
Oh,
really welcome addition to the show, mate. So you're more than welcome anytime on, buddy. You just let us know if you want to come on. You can come on. But yeah, thanks very much for today, Callum, as well. Really do appreciate your time, mate.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Hope you guys are all safe and well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye. See you later, gents.
Bye-bye.
Bye.